Ready?
Okay. So, hi, my name is Hairi. I'm an independent curator and I'm also a consultant working in cultural production events and in communication. I have been based in Korea and also now I'm living in France, but I'm also working in Brussels and sometimes in Italy. I'm here to introduce you to a project that I have been co-founded and co-worked since 2016. That is called l'Institut d'Esthétique in French, which is basically in English the beauty salon or the beauty care salon. First, I'd like to introduce the hashtag that I've wanted to put up online, which are aestheticism, interaction, ritual, beauty, magic, stigmas, identity, representation, performance, place of the audience. Those are concepts that we thought could be useful to and are keys to understand what we wanted to do with the beauty salon. Basically, the beauty salon was a project that, as I said, was founded in 2016 with two plasticians. We're all friends. One of them, who is called Vincent Voilà, he's a sculptor and specialized in sculpting and carving stones. And the other one is Emile, who is a ceramist and also specialized in performance. We wanted with this project to have something that would have been first, without the hierarchy between curator and artist. So the idea was to be the three of us at the same level, and we're more working on an artistic directive way than in a curatorial way. But let me get back to you after that, because I've seen also some of the curators from cross-cultural who are interested in kind of the same ideas of what we wanted to explore. So everything is in French, and I'm so sorry about that. The beauty care wanted to basically, the idea was to care about the other and help him to rediscover and find himself, to reconciliate with his image and show him that it can give him pleasure and happiness also in the same way, and satisfaction in a healthy way. For us at the beauty salon, the body was an amazing tools of communication and is also understood as a tool of socialization, whether it is normalized or whether it is stigmatized. And towards a more bigger element, we wanted to absolutely be transdisciplinary. And every time we are invited to activate the beauty salon, we are collaborating with either new artists or the one that we previously worked with on a new project. And we have been so far working with, I think, about 50 artists, which are coming from various fields, which are sculpture, as I said, ceramists, but also dance, performance, sound, musicians. We worked with a singer at the time. We also worked with a real esthetician. I mean, not a real esthetician, but someone that wrote about estheticianism. So yeah, in our biography, we started at Nuit Blanche in 2016 when it was curated by Jean Deloisy. And then we had, as you can see here, we had few other invitation so far. Yeah, and we were twice at Palais de Tokyo in 2017 and in 2018. And in 2019, we were at Centre Pompidou. We were supposed to do other projects in 2020, but then, as you all know, COVID happened. So then we're now looking at when we can reproduce them or do them later on. What I would like to go back to also from why I wanted to say about the aestheticism, as you can now understand, it's very obvious. Interaction. So the beauty salon is not a specific place or doesn't have a very the same spot each time. It's depending on the invitation that we have. So which is why it only opened this many of time. So we're only opening in a cultural environment or museum environment. We want also to have connections with artists and local artists each time. And the idea that we are doing is, so basically we want, as I explained, we want to play with the idea of a real beauty salon and with the code of the beauty salon, but we're asking an artist who are not necessarily in the performance field to think of a performance that could be understood and played as a beauty care, which is why we also play with the environment. It's very important for us. Like you can see here, though it's a lot of performance because we're giving beauty care, it's all about also the sculpture and all about the element that the artist wants to implement in the performance that he will perform. So we can retrieve and find his the way he work and his whole oeuvre, so his whole chef-d'oeuvre. Right here is, oh yeah, this is all the artists that we have been working with. So you can see there's Julie Bénat, Aida Bruyère, Yarissa Kublitz. So you'll have all of that. Previously, we have worked with also Mimosa Esha, but also Mika Rothenberg. Yeah, here. So yeah, we're pretty happy about the list of artists that we worked with. This is a view of the installation we did at Palais Tokyo. It was in 2018. We wanted to have something that really embodies the idea of a beauty salon, but in a professional salon. So where you have all on display, kind of at FIAC, where you have booths, and we wanted to have people that would be able to experiment the product or the beauty care, and they can experiment them as much as they want it. Here is the work of Vincent Voilà. As I was explaining, he's carving stone and sculpture for the beauty salon. So he's really not into the performance. He's one of the very first idea we had with him, and that's how the whole concept of bringing a plastician towards performance was interesting for us, and I will explain you why. Because he's so he usually work on the analogy, on the anachronism of geology. For example, he would place together and put up together and bring together pieces of stone that have been elevated next to in the cemetery where Verlaine was what is the word? Was invited, where was basically in a cemetery where the body of Verlaine lies, and then in a cemetery where the body of Rimbaud lies. And since, as you may know, they have been lovers, so he wanted to bring them together. Here for the beauty salon, the anachronism is his plays with, here you have the pink stone, it's a pink quartz, and here it's an eye of tiger. Both are supposed to be embracing or canceling all empathy. He's bringing them together. So then, according to him and according to James' gemology, basically, and lithotherapy, it's supposed to bring out more empathy, a better empathy, and kind of letting you being able to be a better artist. While he's putting up all these stones on the body of the people who are lying here on the table, as you can see, it's a real table also. So he wanted and we wanted to play with the codes of which are real and what is wrong or what is fake. He's here standing next to the person that is receiving the treatment, And he's also explaining his artwork and what he's doing and how he's embodying and or what he wants to say through his artwork. So I saw that there's one of the curator also in cross-cultural who was interested in the way of the position of the audience, so they can understand or how they can interact also more with the artwork and not be only a receiver of an artwork, but also being part of it and be a participant. And that is also something that is the core of the beauty care and the core of what we wanted to, the beauty salon, sorry, and the core of what we wanted to do and were interested in on a curatorial way, was to how can we now from a museum or from an institution or in an institution interact with the artwork and give them the idea and provide something or to understand something that is not only between the artworks, like only the artwork and another artwork, but it's a whole. So yeah, how do you interact with each other, and what basically do you remember when you get off an exhibition? And if even the concept of doing an exhibition might not be a little bit old-fashioned now, because people want more from an experience when they go to even saying going to the museum is kind of old-fashioned. So here is also like another moment where he's doing his performance. Previously, like he tries to explain everything, and as you can see, the more we were confident about, and the more he got confident about the performance he was doing, the better he got at also faking, but not faking, and trying to play with the code and the role that he can have, because now he's wearing this robe, which gives him kind of an importance, or again of the spectrum of a guru, for instance. Yes, and this here is another project that he made for us. Still Vincent, voilà. Here is well, basically it's something to. So in French, it's UV cabin, but he wanted to do a UV cabin that has been carved in a stone. So it's resin for sure, but it's it's something that is related to his work also still, but still playing with this kind of kitschy way of taking care of your body, but also you can see the little sunglasses here before being before being here, because this is how it looks like from the other side. So it's a stone, it's a leaf stone, and you have the lights that are behind. So it's very, well, actually it was very beautiful and very mesmeric. This here is a work of a duet from Berlin, and based in Berlin. They worked for us. We actually discovered them on Instagram, and they did this performance. And it's not a performance because basically that's also a good idea, because of as a young curator, we've sometimes faced to the fact that we don't have enough money to bring everyone that we want to come. So they actually wanted to do first a performance that would have been last for the whole time of the exhibition, but we didn't have the money for that. So then we kind of started to speak about what if we do a sound pieces. And then they were interested in the sound piece. And it's also something that has been developed lately, not lately, but in the past years, where you have, you can have a therapy toward, like, by yourself, and have auto therapy that you can find online on YouTube's and everything, to decompress, to help you to sleep, or to help you being better in a way. But sometimes, and also they wanted to target here the people who are kind of the influencers, who enjoins you to always speak more, or to always have, how can I say, to enjoin you to have a better life, and to tell you to be more open to everyone else. But in a way, they're only focused about themselves. It's like they can't. It's I've read something about it that was interesting actually last time. It's about cultural appropriation of a Indianness, of an idea of yoga and an idea of being aware of yourself and your past lives. But then in a sense that they don't understand that it should let you be more open and more welcoming, or to welcome more the other person. And then now when you follow all of these influencers, it's only about themselves. So that's why, and everyone that follows it, it's like you're following you're following kind of a school of thoughts that are supposed to let you be more open to everyone else, but instead, in a reverse way, the way we understand it in Western country is to be more focused and auto-centered. So it's very ironical, which is why it's called Wake Up. But it starts as something that, so you have yoga mats and you have to bow first in front of those two hands that you have on the back of the wall, basically. You put on the sound system, and then you have a voice that is very deep and very relaxing, that invites you to lay down on the floor and open up your palm towards the sky, blah, blah, blah. And it's very quick, actually. It lasts only for 4 minutes. Yeah, you actually, at some point, you're kind of like, it's this fake point, the very edge that we want to reach with the beauty salon and with all the artists that we have been collaborating with. It's where you are like, is it true or is it fake? Like, am I being played? Am I being fooled? Or is it a true thing that is happening? And since it's happening also in museums, it's also play a lot more on the, people are kind of disturbed, and we play a lot on this disruption of the introduction of the real life into a museum where you're not supposed to see life like that. Those are the hands. It's a close-up of the hands. Yes, it's actually not necessarily for prayer, but it's more a high five. Yes. Yeah. So actually, yes, it's more a high five. So actually, now think about all the emojis that are like that, and you think of like, oh, it's a prayer. Maybe not for some other people. It can be also a high five. Like, I get it. So they wanted to play with that. Here is Elsa Philippe. She did this box. So she asked a performer to perform the performance that he has written. It's our influencer and blogger. She is in her bubble, in the web bubble, basically. And sometimes when she wants, she do, all of these influencers that now does stories or live Instagrams and stuff like that. So when she wants to do a live, she open up the curtain. And then when she doesn't want to do it, she close up everything. But we know she's there because sometimes you have input of her, like getting off the curtains, putting some nail polish, and then she will go back. When she's inside like that, well, basically you have to play with it, because it's also like how much you, as a person that consume influencers' life and what they are offering you on the web and all of this market, basically, how much we want to know about those person and how deep we go into their basically intimacy, because they chose to open or to close. They chose to go to have input into our own life like that, but it's also them or us in a perverse way who wants to go and know more about them. But it's very physical, so it's something that we wanted to really grasp through that. Louise Siefer is also a French performer. Here it's she wanted to do a conventional hypnotic. Yeah, I think it's the word in English. Yeah, but it's when you have that a lot in the States. Actually, you have a lot of kind of those sessions where you can be hypnosed, but in a large group. And here it was more about finding the keys in yourself to be more performative at work. So it was also a play on word about performance and performance into the contemporary art world, but also artwork, and what is it to be an artist, and how much you have to devote yourself to the work, kind of the goat here. So yeah, which is the eye of the audience. So yeah, there was a lot of insights in her work. And she did that, and she does it, on a stage, like if it's a real convention, basically. There's hours where she's putting up the outfit, and she's on stage, and then there's an announcement in the institution saying, like, in a few minutes, Lucifer will perform her "This Is Your Day" performance. We welcome the audience and the public to join us on the level 3. But so we were really playing like that. Oh, Julie Benat is actually one of the first that started us to think about all of this. She did a performance here. It's called Nail Tongue. It was made in 2011 or 2012. She did that first. It was meant to be only for a performance on a solo show in her gallery, which is Joseph Tong Gallery in Paris. And it's a 20 minutes performance where she invites the audience, here one audience at a time, to sit and to receive nail care. But she really plays with all of the codes that you have. So she puts you some warm water on the nail. She massage your hand, blah blah blah, and then she will put some nail polish if you have to remove stuff. And then, the performance starts when she grasps your hand, so you're kind of stuck, you can't do anything but to listen to her. And at the same time, she's also talking about, and that was the interesting part, what it means also, who are the people who works in the nail store or the nail polish store usually. So it's usually people that comes from, immigration, or kind of like people that like communities that doesn't have much money and doesn't have much time of study, you know what I mean? So small communities who needs to find the first job they can find. Usually it's women. I mean, it's necessary. Usually, it's so often women. And here it's very specific because she is referring to the time afterward the war in Vietnam, where, I don't know if you know, but the woman of the president at the time, of the US president, she helped a lot of Vietnamese women to open their store and their shop of nail polishes, so they can find jobs and they can support their family at a time where also the husband were working on, like one salary couldn't be enough to put food on the table. So women were encouraged basically to work into nail salon. But it's funny because it's still the case when you go to California, or when you go to the state, or nowadays, it's still a lot of the Vietnamese community is still in charge or taking care of that. Here is one of the youngest artists we have worked with. He was at the time still a student, Matthias Garcia. He was student at, for example, Julie Benat here, she was in her 40s, 42 when we worked with her. Now, and then Matthias Garcia, he's in one of the youngest that we worked with. And when we worked with him the first time, he was in his second year at Beaux-Arts de Paris. So he was pretty young. He was only 21 or 22. But he was already interested in in queerness, awkwardness, and also what I'm saying, queerness is not necessarily about LGBT communities, but more about the bizarre and all of the things that are not queerness in a more open, and not open, but general way, in a more general definition. And he was excited and very. So he's kind of this new generation also of culture that is between Gothic and Kawaii from Japan. So it's a weird mix. I would agree with that. But he's very, I would say, Kawaii, because he would put up the dresses that you would find on Shibuya, with a lot of tulle and a lot of, those dresses that are very sexual, that sexualize a lot the woman body, but he would put that on a male body who is a little bit more androgyne because his face and his features are very thin and very, it's very androgyne. And why we have that, it's because he was interested in the idea of beauty. It's also because I was interested, where I've discussed with him a lot about when I was living in Korea, actually, I was weirded out by something that I read on Vice. So back in 2012 or 2013, there was a lot of young Korean that instead of going to bars or of clubs, they would go on the bridge or something. So it's very underground stuff, but they would put people inside a box like this, a car, and do like like they had candles and speak about why they love this person. I don't know if you heard of that. Also, there's another thing that is called, it's a Korean company called Dark Angel. This one is very weird. It's kind of, if you want to have a team building experience, they would put up, like 30 bucks of you if you were about to be in a ceremony with you lying down in a box, closing your eyes with photographies of you on your chest. So it's really real in a way. And then you have a dark angel who is actually disguised as a dark angel and who close the boxes. So then the whole team is inside each one in their box, and then it's supposed to bring out like what you like or about life and remind you why you like life. Or it's very compartmentalistic way of looking at things, but we were interested in what it will bring out and what it will tear out of you. You know what I mean? That we wanted to have, for example, in that example here, we wanted to have people, so he would give them accessories, dress them up, so they would lay down inside this box. They would take pictures of themselves. And it's actually funny, but a lot of people, it was kind of the heat of the whole project, because a lot of people were queuing, and we did not expect that at all. Because when I saw the box the first time, you have this, the aura of the box that you project a lot of things about those boxes. And it's funny to realize how much you project on objects who are not from daily life, but at some point, they're part of your daily life. But so we wanted to feel and make you feel that inside an exhibition, but this specific feeling was also to be more open and to be more and to understand more what he's trying to do actually in his painting. That feeling of weirdness, that very edge of is it weird enough that I want to do, and is it creepy enough? And that creepiness, that's what he's actually exploding in his paintings. And with my two friends, we thought that this kind of way of putting people inside something would be a better way, or maybe open a new vision and a new way to look at things, and especially to look at his artwork. Here is Guafon and Beauté. So obviously, this was kind of the obvious choice because of the masks here, but they're very interested. They have been doing a lot of studies about acupuncture, and especially acupressure. And for the beauty salon, they did a research about acupressure on a mask, and these masks are supposed to reconnect with those points here. And it's supposed to make you better at work in a way where you're supposed to be more performative at work, which is something that was at the time for us very interesting. Again, since the project is not definite, so then we're moving also towards what we think and what we, for example, I'm not sure that today we would want to represent that in our exhibition, the performativity artwork. It's not something that we want to discuss anymore. Not even genre, for example. Yeah, because the genre here, we were working with Raya Martini. She's a female transsexual model, actually, professional model. And she was performing here. So it's a blouse that we, like all of us, we were wearing blouse to fake, again, the idea of where you were. And in her blouse, there was objects that are little object that we like Emile put kind of like ceramic and stuff like that. And it's like a ritual, or it was like totem that she was opening sometimes and closing sometimes also as well. But at the same time, she, as you can see, she has breasts. So we wanted people, when she opened it, it's like, you know, like those perverse person that are opening and who are showing off, showing off their body when they shouldn't show off their body. And we wanted to make people feel weird about that. This is another picture of her, and it's still at Palais Tokyo. Here is something else that we had. It was, what's the word in English? I forgot. It's tarot. So it's a game of tarot that is related to beauty and contemporary art. I'm moving on. Here, Mathilde Fernandez, she's part of the people that comes from another field than contemporary art. She was from, she's a singer actually, and she did for us an opera about, how to stay young your whole life. So it was an opera in 3 parts. And she is, so she's playing the role of a woman who wants to stay young forever, and who's trying to understand how to do that. And she's on the social media. She's using a lot of tools. She wants to, drink blood from virgin woman. It was quite interesting to work with her actually, because she has all of this staged concept that I didn't have in mind, because I thought that it would add too much of layers. But in the end, it turned out to be quite okay, and it turns out to, we also on our side put up a lot of layers. I can see that now. But she was she introduced us a lot to the stage and to how we should see the whole stuff all together and not just one by one. So here you can see her while she was doing her performance. It's another performance she did also. This one was at Palais Tokyo. This is Émile de Gorzdima. He's the ceramist that I told you about. But for us at here at the Beauty Care, he invented a lot of performance, and this one is with the snail. So we bought real snails and we put them on people's head. People were lying on the table that you see previously with the stones, and here it was used for the snails. It's actually funny to see how many. We thought that a lot of people wouldn't do it, and it's actually funny to see that as for the Matias Garcia's case, people wanted actually to taste it, but also it's not necessarily to taste the project, but it's also to be in the middle of the attention of others who are watching it and who are looking at it. And so for that, we realized that not only people who are going to museums or who wants to, that's where we realize that people want to be part of the artwork that they are seeing. Not only they want to understand it, but they want to contribute, or they want to be part of it, or to experience something. And that's something that we realized with Emile, and especially this performance. Here is like I told you, we wanted to, the idea is to have both an environment, and he was an artist that we invited only for the environment. It's a vase that looks at itself. in a kind of a vain way. Here is Aida Bruyère. We were talking about nails earlier, and in her case, she was interested in the communities that are using nails as you can see here, it's very aggressive and it looks like claws. So nails nowadays have become more of something that are a symbol of not only femininity, but the position of yourself. How do you put yourself into society and what it says about you? So that's what she wanted. It's actually a series of pictures that she took from real nail salon. And yeah, it's I feel like it's very aggressive, but which is funny also is because while doing research about nails, we encounter another person in East Chicago. She did a research about nail salon in East Chicago. And it's so it's not Vietnamese communities, but it's South American communities, people from Mexico and from Central America, who are also dealing with the problem of putting food on the table, because there's a lot of employment in the male industry. I mean, there's not they're like people who can't really work and have a high level of work. So then usually those salons are the way of putting food on the table, but also they're kind of the guard of the family. And and then you realize that in a very often when you have a society or a culture that sounds like it's very machist, in a way, it's the woman inside the family that kept the family all together. So it's very matriarchal also at the same time. Here, for example, the beauty salon that I'm talking about, they only passed from mother to daughters, for generation to generation. And it's very interesting to see this is how they know. The mother knows that their daughters will still have food or will still have a future or have something to be independent, not count on their husband. And yeah, that's where it all started to be interesting for us. It's to see that how on a topic and subject that can seem as meaningless as beauty, it also target and it's implement and it coined a lot of concepts that we were interested in, which were the genre, the transition, transdisciplinary, but here independence of the woman and stuff like that. Oh, here it's Caroline de Liotras. She's doing so now. For here, she actually did a collaboration, and it's a YouTube video normally that she transformed into a dispositif or an installation. Sorry, for us. The collaboration she did on YouTube was, let me see if I have, yeah, it's with an ASMR channel, ASMR influencer, French. She sent her some boxes with resin and with objects that are included in the resin. And then the ASMR artist or the ASMR person here with her hands, and it's a contre-jour also as well, because it's a light box. You had to put, the resin plate on the box. So you have only the shadows of the hand that are actually touching the object, and in a very ASMRistic way. She talks about what is happening inside and everything. People who are in the museum and in the installation, they had to put up oh, you can't see them, but there's a sound system here. And this is the part of the dispositif we had. It's actually we can't see it, but it's one of the light box that the ASMR the girl had to play with and interact with. But what was interesting for us is a lot of things from beauty now comes from internet, and a lot of trends also about beauty are part of internet. So that's what we wanted to have to show off actually also from there in that project. Here is our it's a hair salon, but a very specific hair salon. Maxime Rossi was interested in some, so it's something that he has been researching a lot actually, the partition, like how you can partiment the lecture. And back in the 19th century, when people were going, in the mines, sometimes for their leisure, they still have books, but they wanted to go faster to read books. So they would separate parts of the books to one another, and then they would read to each other the books, or they would do a sort of a sum up or summarize it to each other. So then it's like they were reading the books together. That's how they passed on also ideas, revolutionary ideas and stuff like that. That's how they passed it on, actually, at some point. So here Maxime wanted to tell a whole story, but he wanted to compartmentalize stuff. So each of the things that are happening it's by themselves an artwork, but all together it looks like it's either a whole garbage or a festival. But there's a lot of things going on, basically. Even the glitters here means something to his work. The fact that, the only thing that he wanted to do, and that was part of like why we did that, is because he wanted the spectator, the audience, coming each one at a time, and to be stuck. So once the performance starts, basically you can't really go out of it, and you can't really escape it, and you don't have the full thing altogether, because he invited DJs, he invited multiple singers, but you can always have something to watch and to look up to, because there was tattoos that you can be put up to. Here it's an artwork by itself, it's serigraphy. Here were videos that you can't see now. There was also sound piece that he put up on. Everything was very multiplying, and it's a very tentacular artwork, an art piece, actually, that tries to summarize what he wants to say. But and here is Elsa. So of course I'm still interested in the mermaid, but but that's how mermaid is kind of the idea, this archetypal idea of beauty, but from the deep sea. And we wanted to talk about the mermaid who would have been captured by fishermen, and she's from she doesn't understand because it's like, well, this was an immigrant mermaid, basically, that was captured because in the sea you don't have borders and everything. And then she was speaking kind of in a very weird way, but anyway, it's one of the last performance we did, and it was on a beach in part of a festival on a beach. And so that's it. That's another performance she did, where it was more she was doing a TV shows, actually, about how in the States there's a TV show where you can rebuild your body with a surgery. So then it was doing the reverse thing. You would do surgery to become more and more ugly instead of becoming more and more beautiful. It's like the idea, like it's in a reverse world, in a dystopic world, you would do the other opposite. So
Okay. Thank you for kindly explanations and all the details of the artist pieces. Well, okay, your presentation is finished, but I have a simple question about the people who called audiences or viewers. Do you think any difference between proactive audience and participants? Is there any difference, do you think? Participants and audience?
I would say that in a way, participant kind of become part of the artwork also itself. So they're not audience anymore in a sense that, not everyone can participate in the performance, because some of the care that we were giving, they would last at least for 15 minutes to 10 minutes. So not everyone can be part of it. So that's why you have people who are still watching. They're the audience, and also the other one are part of, because, pictures are taken, like him here, he's part of the performance. Now he's engraved in when the performance was activated. He's part of the archive of the performance. So that's why I'm like, he's kind of part of the artwork. And the artist is also aware of that, because if you don't have that specific person that plays the role that he wants you to play, then there's no performance, and the performance is not activated. That's where I would put the difference between participant and proactive.
I totally understand. Okay. Here we are. There are other audiences here right now. Suyang Min and Natalie also. So, do you have any questions for Hallie? Or can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I don't have any question now. I need the time to digestion.
Okay.
I know.
But I really like the mermaid.
Yeah. It's something that would definitely come to Korea. I'm digging into that.
Actually, I will
ask in a private ways the budget to bring the project to Korea.
Oh my God.
That is a private talk.
You have to get a huge money, because all the performances needs humans.
Actually, not that much, because
really?
The idea of the beauty salon would be also to work with people locally. And that's why we play a lot with the environment, because when it's not activated by performance, you still have the remains, of the rest. So you still have a trace of what happened previously. You also have all of these, for example, here, let me go back. That for example that's why we put those artwork also in the environment and in this space, because we want people to at least sometimes see stuff. The only thing we want to have is always have someone to introduce and some kind of mediator. For example, so this Julie Bena, this is a sculpture that she made. Yarisa and Kubit, it's a good example, because they want you to use that, but then you don't need to have performance. You don't need to have the artist. You need to have the artwork. Then of course there's a cost of bringing all this artwork. But, we put the problem on a various issue.
So Hailey said it's reasonable to bring this.
I know. Oh, sorry. Go on.
I'm finished.
Yeah, actually, I know how Hailey's work. She always makes some kind of flexible ways. That's the reason that I ask. And also, I think we have a project. We have a project in Ansang. The Suyang is our co-curator, but some of the work is quite well matched with our topic also.
Oh, really?
About the plastic work and about some kind of gender issues. So maybe we can find the artists in Korea in the same context, because usually when we work together, it's not a copy of the exhibition. It's kind of variation. So that's the reason that I asked Hailey how much the money we need to bring this to Korea.
Well, there's things that we can bring in our suitcases.
Okay. So today's main.
Do you have any questions? No? Or comments?
Hi. I don't know whether you can see me, but
yeah, I can see you.
I'm here. Thank you so much for your fascinating talk. I was just wondering, because you mentioned briefly about queerness, and you sort of defined it as sort of this bizarre in a general way. I was just curious how you treat this concept of queerness in your projects and exhibition making. I mean, does it have a predominant role kind of as a way of suggesting transgression or sort of this bizarreness that doesn't really go with beauty?
That's why we talk. That's why I was saying that queerness is to be understood as a very general way, because we never wanted to coin that and to talk about LGBT communities or even the representation. But in a way, it was already speaking about it, but it was inside of the concept and the project. The two persons that I'm working with are part of the gay community in Paris. They're not activists, but it's something that they have been defined, that has been defined themselves, and that they grew up in that kind of counter culture in a way that it's part of them right now, you know, like everything they would do or everything they would be interested in, it's part of them and they don't really question themselves about it. Same for me, I kind of grew up with a sort of this community also as well. And I didn't really realize that. So then when we started to do that in 2016, you didn't have that much topics and talks about genre. It was more about decolonization. It was more about, performativity at work also as well. That's why I was saying that nowadays it wouldn't make any sense to speak about that today. And so it's not something that we wanted to really be specific or to be representative of our work. It's more something that has been always there and that we want to show by not talking about it and not coining it, that it doesn't define an artwork or an artist today. We can't say that it's part of a topic or something, because it's something that is so that embrace our whole environment, that it would be super weird and kind of old-fashioned for us to define and or to try to put borders and try to define, and also because the topic is so complex that I don't want to get into say something that would be completely out of proportion or something, you know.
Thank you.
And it's also not our role to define those stuff. It's more the people who are, because I mean, I'm interested in those topics for sure, but I think it's a better place with people in university who are a better understanding of the keywords that they would use than for me, who just has this understanding of what I'm reading and who's not necessarily also something. I'm not a specialist, basically.
Well, the concept of queerness is getting
larger,
a more expanse every day. So
but I think it's also kind of in the air du temps. It's fashionable right now, and it's very you know, it's very fashionable in a way that where decolonization was very fashionable 2 years ago, or like back in 2015 it was Anthropocene.
Yes.
For example, everyone was talking about Anthropocene and everything. So now when you have new exhibition and huge exhibition like the Venice Biennial, no one is talking about Anthropocene anymore. So now you have people who wants to coin ecology, feminism, decolonization, and then you have an artwork that speaks about everything, and you're like, well, no, you can't. I mean, of course, but you can't be. It's very weird. I have met this artist who says that she's a sculptor, performer, eco-feminist activist, and I'm like, that's
basically
so
everything.
Like you just say that you speak about freedom. Just say you speak about freedom, and it's better, because at least I would have more respect. Because when it tries to, you know, when it try to be, you build more communities by using all of these terms. And it builds more. We feel like, especially at the beauty salon, it feels like if we were coining the terms of queerness, then we would have been classified in a genre of artwork or something, you know. Whereas now we're like kind of touching a little bit of everything, as you can see, but it's just like touching, and it's things that we can find on the web, things that we can find trendy, or things that we have a feeling of. And that's it's a more sensible way of working. Also because the artists that we choose to collaborate with, they don't necessarily call us or they don't necessarily contact us. It's us toward our exhibition, like experience of shows or connections. Basically, we discover new figures of people that we want to work with. And usually it's funny because it also develop other stuff and other projects, because themselves, the Yarissa and Kublit, for example, they never thought of being a sound artist before. And then now they introduce sound art in all of most of the installations that they're making, because they like the ambient and the environment that it gives and the deepness that it can provide. And they work a lot with this religious atmosphere. So of course the sound was part of it, and they never really wanted to look and dig into it, and now they're doing it. So yeah, we're happy also to kind of open new ways or new medium and new practice for artists. That's where I would put myself as a curator to follow up and to tag along the course of an artist and the career of an artist.
Right.
Kind of like Nathalie is doing also with all of the artists that you work with. It's a full-time job basically, because you always follow up with everyone. So yeah, it's how that's how I at least understand curating.
I agree that the artworks or the curatorial practices also needs a space.
Yes,
where
and time.
Yes, to put the other's thoughts in the space.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I also very interested in your point is about the fashion in the curatorial practice. Actually, everybody feel about those kind of issues. Some 2 years is focused on all the colonization, and then later and the gender and the back and forth. But we have to seriously thinking about what is our job. It's just not following the fashion and how we make a
we
connection.
Don't follow
and then,
media. It's like we're following, the TV channel media that are online, all the time, like the 24/7 information channel, and you're only following up like only information, but you don't really, when they do reviews or something, they don't really dig into the subject or the topic. It's only on the surface all the time. So now I feel like with the curatorial practice being kind of like very fast and like that, it's interesting to coin and to open up a new ideas and new topics, but at the same time it doesn't mean that everyone should do the same. It's like, oh yeah, all of these institutions, they're following up and they're doing the same thing right now. For example, in Europe, Anne Himov, she just had a show at Palais de Tokyo, but she was last year at Tate Modern Gallery in London, and she's also doing at the same time right now something in Torino in Italy. In the three are part of the biggest institution for contemporary art in Europe. It's amazing for her. I'm sure it's great, but then what does it mean for us, like the others? The others artists who are not working on the same thing, like, I don't know, it's like a overwhelming presence of an artist is not necessarily good, because it's kind of a dictatorship also as well. And it's also because the things that she speaks about also, it's another topic, but there's also stuff that you can discuss about her artwork. But it's, isn't it our role also to have different discussions? Not necessarily confront them, but at least have a discussion of point of views. And it's like, you want to have the attention of the audience and the media, so then you go for the big names, and it's always the same thing. But now it's like, even the big institutions who don't really need to use the big names, they are doing it, and they're playing the same game that like small institutions are doing. So then where is the space for not necessarily the young artists, but also like the others? And people who are still talking about decolonization, but who has been talking about decolonization for the past 20 years, when it was not fashionable, when it was at its peaks, they were already old-fashioned because they were not new on the topics, and people don't really understand that. And then now, yeah, so it's, I don't know, I'm not an Instagram page, so
it's a kind of neoliberalistic speed, I think.
yeah, it's like a story of it on Instagram. You can post and say anything that lasts for 24 hours because it only lasts for 24 hours. So then people will forget about it in the past 24 hours. So that's actually a topic that I'm interested in now. It's the space of the language and the symbol of language. One of the artists that I'm doing the exhibition with that I told you about previously, Susie, the show that it's a solo show that I'm doing with a Belgium he's based in Belgium now, Brussels, but he's from South Africa. It's Kendall Gears. And he used to be an activist while at apartheid. He did 4 times in prison or something because of his actions. He's a between painter, sculptor, performer, and so he's white, right? Because he's South African. But he talks about he has been talking about decolonization, but as a white male artist.
I know what it is.
About decolonization oh yeah, you know him?
No, I know the way.
Oh yeah, because so then it's like, oh, how come people who doesn't know him and who doesn't know the story about his story, they would not understand that he's actually talking about he has been colonized because he was basically Black people arrived later on in the territory where he grew up, and yeah, they took his country, but it's the same way of like the white colonizer. Now it's the Black colonizer, but in a way people didn't really want to hear that. So I don't know, it's interesting. And yeah, what I'm saying about speech and language is because now it seems like, on TV shows or, on the media, you can say anything because in a way it will be replaced by someone else saying something more provocative, more, irrepressible or something. So we want to talk about the death of language in the show that we're preparing. So I invite you to all come for next FIAC. It will be at the same time as next year.
I hope so. I really hope so.
I've never been the FIAC, so I like to.
Yeah,
I like to go. Okay, I think also we might have another session with only Korean curators, and we discuss about how they put the questions and the hashtags. We need some time for digestion and the thinking about the issues, but I totally agree what you mean. It's very important to how curatorial practice is going on. It's not the fashion or we are a shopping mall designer.
Exactly. Yeah, it's exactly that. It's not seasonal, so I don't understand. Yeah.
So maybe we have another session.
Yeah, definitely.
Soon.
I would be. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Hailey, thank you very much. It's really
you for your time.
early in the morning, right?
No. It's 10 a.m.